Louise Fletcher's Star Trek DS9 villain Kai Winn explained Kai Winn Adami, played by Academy Award winner Louise Fletcher, was memorable as one of Star Trek Deep Space Nine's most insidious villains. With one of Star Trek Deep Space Nine's primary themes being faith, Kai Winn was corrupted by political self-interest and jealousy as the elected spiritual leader of Bajor. As an antagonist, Kai Winn starkly contrasted the way Captain Benjamin Sisko, Avery Brooks, slowly accepted his role as emissary of the prophets and embraced Bajor, and how Major Kira Nerys, Nana Visitor, redefined her own personal relationship to the Bajoran faith as DS9's Dominion War raged on. First appearing in Star Trek Deep Space Nine's Season 1 finale, In the Hands of the Prophets, Winn Adami was a strict, orthodox Bajoran Vedic concerned about Keiko O'Brien's Rosalind Chow secular teaching style at DS9 school. After the death of Kai Opaka, Camille Saviola, Vedic Winn strategically positioned herself to beat Vedic Bareil, Philip Anglim, in the race for Bajor's next Kai. With similar Machiavellian tactics, Kai Winn also became Bajor's secular first minister in order to serve her own self-interested agenda, which usually didn't reflect what the Bajoran people actually needed or wanted. Louise Fletcher played Kai Winn Adami on Star Trek DS9. In only 14 episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Louise Fletcher's portrayal of Kai Winn as a condescending foil to Sisko and Kira is truly brilliant. Fletcher struck a masterfully creepy balance between Kai Winn's sweet public persona and her ruthless ambition, the disconnect making Winn a delightfully unsettling Star Trek villain. As the head of the Bajoran religion, Kai Winn kept up the appearance of a respected spiritual leader and deflected accusations of political posturing or ulterior motives with sanctimonious platitudes. Winn made herself seem untouchable by playing on Bajoran's religious devotion and spouting lies disguised as genuine concern. Louise Fletcher is one of a few Oscar winners in Star Trek, having won an Academy Award for portraying Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in 1975, which also won Fletcher a Golden Globe and a BAFTA. Fletcher's other notable genre film credits include Exorcist II, Firestarter, Brainstorm, and Flowers in the Attic. Louise Fletcher's prolific acting career spanned nearly 60 years, from late 1950s television guest spots to 1970s movies, with continued film and TV work through the 2010s. Fletcher's final role before her death in 2022 was in the 2017 TV series Girl Boss. Why Kai Winn was a unique Star Trek DS9 villain. Kai Winn was a unique Star Trek Deep Space Nine villain whose weapons were words and guilt instead of phasers and fists, with genuine motives beyond just being evil. After the Cardassian occupation took its toll on Bajor, Winn wanted credit for spiritually and politically guiding Bajor into a new age of prosperity, and acted like she alone was ordained to make unilateral decisions for Bajor. The prophets chose Benjamin Sisko, a human, as their emissary, but never spoke to Kai Winn directly. Winn feigned innocence to mask being jealous of Sisko and insecure about her ill-gotten power. Kai Winn was a multi-layered and fascinating character, befitting Star Trek Deep Space Nine's complex storylines. Besides being condescending and hypocritical, Kai Winn took every opportunity to advance her personal agenda, even when it meant abandoning her own faith. In a bid for ever more power, Winn developed a sexual relationship with Gul Dukat, Marc Alaimo, and the pair eventually perished in the fire caves of Bajor, consumed by the Pa wraiths they unleashed. As a villain antithetical to the Star Trek ethos of cooperation, Louise Fletcher's Kai Winn helped make Star Trek Deep Space Nine a complex Star Trek show. Louise Fletcher's portrayal of the villainous Kai Winn in Star Trek Deep Space Nine DS9 is one of the most complex, multifaceted performances in the Star Trek universe. Kai Winn, who served as a recurring antagonist throughout the series, represents a unique and chilling kind of villainy, one steeped in religious authority, political ambition, and personal insecurities. Her character is not just a foil to the protagonist, but embodies the tensions between faith, power, and ego. Winn's role in Bajoran society, set against the backdrop of a recently liberated Bajor, DS9 explores the fragile political, social, and spiritual recovery of the Bajoran people after decades of oppressive Cardassian occupation. Bajor is a deeply religious society, worshipping beings they call the prophets, who reside in the celestial temple, known to the Federation as the Wormhole. The Bajoran religion is led by a spiritual caste of Vedics, with the Kai being the highest religious leader. When we meet Winn Adami, she is a Vedic who is openly vying for the position of Kai. Winn's religious and political aspirations are central to her character. From the beginning, she is depicted as a self-righteous and manipulative figure, often using her position to advance her ambitions. Winn's core motivation throughout DS9 is not the spiritual welfare of her people, but her desire for power and recognition. Her outward persona of piety masks a cunning and often ruthless ambition that contrasts sharply with the more humble and selfless characters, like Major Kira and Captain Benjamin Sisko, both of whom she frequently clashes with. Winn's religious manipulations. One of the most fascinating aspects of Kai Winn's character is how she manipulates religion to gain political power. She often uses her position to challenge and undermine those she sees as threats, including Sisko, who holds the title of Emissary of the Prophets. Winn is deeply resentful of Sisko's status, as it was granted by the prophets themselves, bypassing the Bajoran religious hierarchy. She believes that the emissary should have been a Bajoran, and her jealousy is palpable throughout their interactions. Winn's complex relationship with the prophets also adds depth to her villainy. Despite her claims of religious devotion, she harbors a bitter resentment toward the prophets because they never seem to grant her the recognition or favor she believes she deserves. Winn craves validation from the divine as much as she does from her people, yet she never receives it. This bitterness leads her to make increasingly dangerous decisions, including a pivotal alliance with the prophet's dark counterparts, the Pa-wraiths. Her willingness to forsake the prophets and align with their enemies in her quest for power is a stark indication of her moral decline. Winn's psychological complexity. Louise Fletcher's performance as Kai Winn is a masterclass in subtlety and depth, portraying a woman who is both self-assured and deeply insecure. Winn's villainy is not the product of a grand, tyrannical vision like many other Star Trek antagonists, but rather of her deep-seated personal flaws. She is driven by a toxic mix of insecurity, pride, and resentment. These qualities make her an especially dangerous adversary because she is often unpredictable. Her actions are motivated not by clear ideological or strategic goals, but by personal grievances, envy, and a need to assert control over others. Winn often presents herself as a martyr for Bajor, claiming that all her actions are in the service of her people. But it becomes clear that she views Bajor's welfare as secondary to her own ambitions. She justifies her manipulations and betrayals as being for the greater good, but her true motivations are self-serving. This internal contradiction between her public persona and private ambitions creates a sense of moral ambiguity in her character. She sincerely believes that she is entitled to her power and that her ambitions are aligned with Bajor's destiny, even when her actions prove disastrous for the planet and its people. Winn and Major Kira. A study in contrast. A significant portion of Kai Winn's narrative is her antagonistic relationship with Major Kira, a devout Bajoran who holds very different views on faith and leadership. Where Kira's faith is genuine and humble, Winn's is a tool for manipulation. The two characters are foils to one another. Kira represents a sincere connection to the prophets, tempered by humility and compassion, while Winn embodies the corruption of religious power, using faith as a means to her own ends. Their interaction is Winn's fundamental insecurity. Kira, despite being a lower-ranking figure in Bajoran society, commands respect and admiration due to her strength, courage, and integrity. Winn, on the other hand, struggles to gain true reverence, as her manipulations are transparent to those who know her well. Kira's unwavering faith and loyalty to Bajor highlight Winn's self-serving hypocrisy, making their clashes especially poignant. The tragic fall of Kai Winn.